Welcome to this sacred space. My name is Adris Harrell. I'm a white woman with brown hair and glasses. I'm wearing a dark gray plaid jacket and gray slacks. On behalf of First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, I welcome you to our worship service. You are welcome because of your unique identity and spirituality, and because you are capable and worthy of love. If you are new to First U, please fill out the connections card that will allow you to get our newsletter and other information, and you can keep the pen. Please put the card in the offertory basket or drop it at the welcome table in Parish Hall. If you are online, please click on the link in the chat. The live stream guide will be available on a table in Parish Hall. Please check out the many events that are happening in the next couple of months, including the New Year's vegan potluck tonight. Now, it is your turn to welcome others. Please start by waving to the camera on your left to greet those attending online. And let's wish each other a Happy New Year. Today, Reverend Larry will teach us the practice of using a beginner's mind. I often come to our worship services with a beginner's mind, putting the past week behind me and ready to be touched, surprised, and inspired by what happens in this service. So now let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship.
Still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing in dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing.
Thank you for that lovely music to begin. I'm the Reverend Larry Piers, minister here at the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington. Happy New Year to all of you. I am 6 feet tall, I have glasses, gray hair, black robe, and a stole that it's brown with gold threads. Over the next 5 weeks, our theme is composing a life. Through messages in our worship service, some of our live stream programs, and other activities, we're inviting you to this shared journey of discovering what your life is saying and what it wants to say as we move into this new year. In worship services, we will draw on generative themes from the lives of Yo-Yo Ma, William James, Martin Luther King Jr., Helen Keller, Octavia Butler, and we will listen to our own individual and collective lives as we enter this new year. Today, our focus is Beginner's Mind and the life of Yo-Yo Ma. For our call to worship this morning, I have adopted some words from the world-renowned cellist, Yo-Yo Ma, who reflects upon his more than 60 years as a musician. I've adapted what he has said by replacing his word music or accompanying his word music with the word worship, so we can have a sense of the connection between those two dimensions of life. It's not too far-fetched, since I suspect that for Yo-Yo Ma, making music is like worshiping. And for us, listening to his music brings us into a sense of worship. And so his words, music or worship, is how I explore the world around me. Music or worship is how I connect to other people. Some of it's very physical, playing an instrument. Some of it is communicative. We are sharing something with others. Some of it is spiritual, he writes. I value the communal feeling during moments of great celebration and during moments of great sadness. We need to be together. Over time, I've come to understand why music or worship is important. Music or worship gives us a way of connecting with one another and imagining a better future. We need worship in order to have common hope. So come, let us join together in this time of worship as a time that includes making music, exploring life, connecting with one another, sharing feelings of celebration and sadness, and imagining a better future, and also having common hope.
For those of you at home, if you have a chalice, I invite you to join me by lighting it as I read these words by Lois Van Leer. We light this chalice on the brink of a new year, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come, renewed, restored, ready to live life fully anew. May we move forward with intention. Please rise and body your spirit as we sing hymn number 352, Find a Stillness. Please remain standing for the unison affirmation.
First Unitarian Church of Wilmington
is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action.
So let us join now in a time of prayerful meditation. I'm going to do something different than what I had originally planned because of recent events in our world. As I begin the prayer, I'm asking Idris if she would light our candle for our cares for the world that we share. Source of all, Spirit of life and love and justice that abides with us and among us, that steadfastly whispers to us about what is holy and worthy of our deepest devotion. We pause amid the rumblings and writhing in our world today to gather strength, to gather courage, to know an abiding sense of moral fortitude of what is true, what is right, and what is good. Give us strength. Help us find courage. Help us to embody love and hope. It was not long ago that many around the world sang choruses of peace on earth, goodwill to all. These ancient notes continue to hold our deepest aspirations for our world. Even so, we are encountering those in our world who seem sadly driven toward disturbing the peace rather than making peace in all the places of our world and in our country. Give us strength. Help us find courage. Help us to embody love and hope. Among all the right reasons to want to free another country of its tyrant, we have also heard conflicting, confusing, and distracting reasons about why and why now. When those reasons are also filled with misinformation, they strain our trust in those who we've entrusted to lead us. Then, when all the mumblings and ramblings we hear about recovering and reclaiming oil refineries, then when we hear those, we are reminded that we hope not just for peace on earth, but peace with the earth. Peace with the earth could free us from our addictions to fossil fuels, while all around us are the abundant, renewable energy sources that we so graciously receive. Renewable resources of wind and sun need no armies to capture them, no exploitation of the earth to extract them, and no relentless greed to sustain them. Give us strength. Help us find courage. Help us embody love and hope. We lift up all those who are visibly affected by these recent attacks. May the families of the 40 people killed in the attack on Venezuela find those who can comfort and console them as they abide with their shock and try to make sense of their grief. Grant peace to anxious hearts and communities in that country, in our own country, who are shattered by fear for their loved ones brought into battle. May we hold one another around the world as we experience hard-won and wise international agreements that have held our moral commitments as we feel those threatened and disregarded. Guide our world leaders to uphold the dignity of every human being and to stand firm against those who merely covet power and possessions, even at the cost of war. Awaken in us a sense of our interconnectedness as we work towards a world where no one needs to live under tyranny of any kind from any source. And as we work towards a world where we are all deserving of the resources of the earth, comfort, good health, safety, food, and the possibility of thriving. May we, in this congregation and beyond, address the sources that inhibit and pervert our human capacities for compassion and justice. Strengthen our resolve that in each moment we hold steadfast in our commitment to peace on earth, goodwill to all, even more. Let us join now in a shared silence as we hold this prayer and all of our prayers for the world that we share. Amen. We take time every Sunday when we can to also listen to whatever particular personal concerns that you might have for a family member or a friend or a member of the congregation. And so we open up this space to speak aloud in this room if you care to, or if you're joining us online, to write in the chat what your particular concern is that you're holding on your heart and you do not need to hold alone. So take a moment and think about those more personal concerns right now, and we'll go around the room and hear those spoken aloud if you care to do so. How about in this part of the room? About here? Okay. You speak a little louder, I might be able to repeat it on the mic. Mary.
I'm gonna pray for my niece. She lives in 24th Avenue in Wilmington. And there seems to be a shooting every week, and it sort of gets on my nerves.
Sure. Okay. So for your niece and also for you and the concern that you carry for her because of the shooting in that shootings in that neighborhood. Mary. So maybe somewhere there's a joy that like a flickering candle flame still is lit in your heart, and you can guard it in whatever way that you want. But if you want to share it with us in this room, it can also radiate into our lives as well. Who has a joy they'd like to share this morning? Okay. In case you haven't heard, we still have the sun shining on us. Little bits of snow flickering on the ground still. The wolf moon. Okay. Who knows what that is? I'll find out later. Okay, great. It's great joy when you know what it is. What else? The birds are flocking back. I'm noticing how many things are related to nature that are joys to you this morning. Any other joys that you want to mention? 3 more days. Andrew, it's so great to see you. That's nice. Great. Hey, what other joys might there be? Okay, friends have closed on their first house. Upcoming wedding. What? Not yours, okay. Safe travels of family who are heading home. So, as a community, we hold concerns and joys of one another. We hold them in our heart, and maybe you want to put your hands on your heart to symbolize how we are holding alongside of each of you, whatever you might be holding as a concern or a joy this day. May all whose names were spoken and those unspoken find peace and healing this day. So may it be.
Perhaps it does not begin. Perhaps it is always. Perhaps it takes a lifetime to open our eyes, to learn to see the luminous line of the map in the dark, the vigil flame in the house of the heart, the love so searing we can't keep from singing. The luminous line of the map in the dark, the vigil flame in the house of the heart, the love so searing we can't keep from singing, from crying out. Perhaps it does not begin. Perhaps it is always. Perhaps it takes a lifetime to open our eyes, to learn to see the luminous line of the map in the dark, the vigil flame in the house of the heart, the love so searing we can't keep from singing. The luminous line of the map in the dark, the vigil flame in the house of the heart, the love so searing we can't keep from singing, from crying out. Perhaps this day the light begins. Perhaps this not begin. Perhaps it is always.
Beautiful, thank you. I am reading from Beginner's Mind by Yo-Yo Ma. My 2 children are now both married, and I'm a grandparent. My grandchildren would be in their 80s in the year 2100, and my love for them goes beyond my lifetime. It is staggering to consider the arc of the generations and awe-inspiring to realize the responsibility that implies. Today, I'm hopeful. I believe that optimism is a deliberate choice, and that if we each do our part to find our beginner's mind, if we can strip away our preconceptions, then we have a chance to strengthen the bonds that bind us together as human beings. But to do so, we have to make decisions based on some fundamental values, cultural values that can guide our heads and hearts, and hence to build a better future. Values like trust, truth, and service, curiosity, access, and collaboration.
All over the world, in zendos or Zen halls, Zen temples, and Zen sanghas or communities, on New Year's Eve, many gathered to sit in meditation, while at some point, as tradition has it, I almost said medication, that's why I'm laughing. So let me start over. To sit in meditation while at some point, as tradition has it, someone begins to strike a big brass bell known as the bancho in the room, and to begin the cycle of ringing it 108 times. There's a pausing after each strike of the bell to allow the sound to resonate in the room and to resound within each person gathered there. The instructions often are to accompany the striking of the bell by perhaps breathing in at the striking of the bell and breathing out as the sound of the bell resounds in the room. At this New Year's Eve ceremony, some Zen teachers invite each participant to begin by making a vow. A vow is not like the familiar New Year's resolution. Instead, a vow could be a quality that someone wants to cultivate in themselves at this dawning of the new year. You might hear someone say that their vow is vulnerability. Another might sense in themselves the quality of open-heartedness and hold that during this period of intentional meditation. Another might not even have words for the quality of tenderness that they might feel rising within them, yet tenderness accompanies them as their vow during this meditation, nevertheless. The persistent ringing of the bell is a reminder for some to purify or release oneself from all the common human tendencies that afflict us, like aggression, hatred, or attachment to ego. Others might understand that each strike of the bell represents the barriers that separate them from their essential nature and their capacity to live fully within the beauty and wonder of the present moment. As the bell dissolves in the room, so too do they aim to let those barriers dissolve. each strike of the bell could also be experienced as a way of moving through and moving beyond those barriers that allow for a fresh start as one prepares for this transition into a new year. I think all of us can perhaps identify with the deep desire for a fresh start in whatever way it occurs, in whatever way we can signal this to our body and mind. Who's ready for a fresh start? You can use feet too if you need to raise your feet. Even if you've never experienced this ritual, I suspect that you can intuit the atmosphere in the room and can sense what it's like to sit in quiet anticipation of each ringing of the bell and each gradual release of the sound into the room, into the cells of one's body, into the chambers of one's heart. Perhaps you can even sense that moment between each ringing of the bell as an open moment, a new moment, a generative, sensitive moment, what I often call a sacred pause. And even if you have no idea what the experience is like, I suspect that you can identify with that longing for sacred pauses in which, even if for a millisecond, we are freed of thinking, freed of worry, of preoccupation, of what's next, and we can rest in the experience of what is, rest in the possibility of this present moment. For some of us, the sacred moment can be simply a deep silence. For others of us, that deep silence can feel like the silence in which God is most remarkably present. And for others, this deep, momentary silence can feel like an openness to an unspeakable freedom. Religious traditions have often recognized, no matter how arbitrary it may be, or how varied our approaches to the new year may be, that we do need to declare a new year. Whether based on cycles of the sun or the moon or rhythms of our own life, we do need to allow opportunities for practices of a fresh start, right? What forces, however, hold us back from experiencing that fresh start? How might we be more open to the moment we're actually in? How would that help as we compose our lives day to day? That's the focus of my reflections with you this morning. Now, as an aside, I was talking with someone on the phone the other day who had had a rough couple of days. As we were talking on the phone, I told them jokingly and seriously that we could, right then and there, practice pressing what I call the cosmic reset button. Now, if you're so inclined, why don't you join me in that practice right now? So imagine that cosmic reset button right there. And with both hands at the count of 3, let's use our hands and slowly and consciously press that cosmic restart button. 1, 2, 3. I can stay there for a long time. Feel what it's like. It's always there, at least metaphorically. Of course, it's not always as easy as just pushing a button. As moderns, we often have a distorted and burdensome and driven view of time, or is that just me? Don't answer that. In Chaplin's character in the silent movie Modern Times, I don't think any of us were there for the premiere. Okay. The Chaplin character is carried through the cogs and the gears of the assembly line faster and faster. And all this seems like the minor leagues when we consider the ways that we as moderns have our contemporary machines, whether they be smartphones or computers, that rule and shape our lives and our interactions and our moods. Could it be that our machines have us? Gary Eberly, in his book Sacred Time and the Search for Meaning, offers the question this way: whatever happened to sacred time? Sacred time is what we experience when we step outside of the quick flow of life and luxuriate, as it were, in a realm where there is enough of everything, where we are not trying to fill a void in ourselves or the world, where we exist for a moment at both the deepest and loftiest levels of our existence and participate in the eternal life of all that is. He goes on to postulate, in simpler or perhaps just slower times, people seem to enter this realm more regularly, or perhaps even to live with one foot inside it. Prayer, meditation, religious rituals, and holy days provided gateways into eternity that allowed us to return to the world of daily time, refreshed and renewed with an understanding that beneath the busyness of daily life, there was an underpinning of calm, peace, and sufficiency. Maybe we could respond to Eberly with a little reality check. Maybe we want to say, Professor Eberly, in our modern day, in 2026, as a matter of fact, maybe, just maybe, the best we can do, Professor Eberly, is to aim to have at least one big toe in sacred time now and then. Maybe we can experience the openness and the freedom of sacred time in snatches. I believe that Zen teachers, among others, have often invited people into the direct experience of these snatches of sacred time, into these holy pauses through meditation and daily living practices that invite the possibility of this experience occurring. Maybe we've already have an inkling of what it means to let go of preconceptions, prejudgments, expectations on the next moment of life, and what it's like to rest gracefully there and gratefully receive this moment as it is. Such an experience is called in Zen teaching Shoshin, or beginner's mind. It was the Japanese Zen teacher Suzuki, Shunryū Suzuki, who in 1959 arrived in San Francisco to establish the first Zen center in the United States. He's credited with bringing that concept of beginner's mind to the West through his classic book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And in that text, he offers this understanding. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. This simple yet profound statement encourages us to approach each moment, each challenge, with openness and curiosity rather than relying on fixed ideas or past experiences. In cultivating beginner's mind, we allow ourselves to encounter life as it unfolds, embracing uncertainty and receiving its possibilities. In the most recent publication of his teachings, entitled Becoming Yourself, Teaching on the Zen Way of Life, Suzuki expands on this idea of beginner's mind and writes, Zen is the practice of seeing things as it is, accepting things as it is, and nourishing things as they grow. You may say you are seeing things as it is, when actually you are not. I don't mean that your sight is distorted. I mean that as soon as you see something, you already start to intellectualize it. As soon as you intellectualize something, it is already not just what you saw. Does that make sense to you? In this seems abstract to you. It was the cellist Yo-Yo Ma who reminded me recently of the practical aspects of beginner's mind as it relates to art, music, and the art of living. Even if you're not a musician, even if you've not heard the pervasive, stunning, and collaborative music of Yo-Yo Ma, there is in his life a wisdom that any one of us can draw from. His life experiences, his approach to his art, in particular, given our focus today, the implications of his approach to his art for the practice of beginner's mind in the art of our own living. All of that wisdom is available to us. Let me offer a snapshot of his life. Yo-Yo Ma was born in 1955 in Paris, to Chinese parents who were both musicians. His mother was a singer. His father was a violinist, musicologist, composer, and music teacher. When Yo-Yo Ma was asked as a young child by his father to pick out an instrument, he went for the biggest instrument in the room, the cello. Can you imagine? His father then began teaching him at age 4, so that by age 5, Yo-Yo Ma began to play several of the cello suites by Bach. In 1962, when his family scraped together enough money to visit relatives in America, Yo-Yo Ma gave a concert in a church. The author of Yo-Yo Ma, a biography, Jim Whitting, tells the story that there just happened to be a teacher in the audience who was so impressed by what she heard that she invited Yo-Yo's father to teach the children's orchestra in her music school. So after moving to America, it also just so happens that the Spanish cellist Pablo Casals heard Yo-Yo play. It was Casals who then advocated for Leonard Bernstein to let the young Yo-Yo Ma perform in front of John F. Kennedy at a fundraiser for the National Center in Washington, D.C., which then became known as the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts and is now known as the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. When he was only 15, Yo-Yo Ma gave his first solo performance at Carnegie Hall. So the promise and the possibilities of his musical talent were evident to him and others at a very early age. And it seems there were a few fortuitous and synchronistic encounters that helped to propel him onto stages and to the attention of wider audiences. Have there been fortuitous and synchronistic experiences in your life that have led you in some particular direction that otherwise might not have occurred? As we think about composing our life, we also have to feel the grace of those things that have happened to us and shaped and formed us and are still shaping and forming us today. With such promise and such talent, Yo-Yo Ma could have jumped right into a professional musical career in 1972, and instead, he was attentive to something more that wanted to happen within him and through him. Yo-Yo Ma decided to go to college, and while at Harvard University, he, quote, indulged his voracious appetite for learning about everything that caught his imagination. This, of course, would direct his career in some remarkable directions in the years ahead, responding to that something more within us is maybe not the most convenient thing always, but when we are able to respond to that something more, no matter how subtle it might be within us, it could help us to compose and recompose our life in an ongoing way. So the first lesson I would hold up from his life is that for us at any age, opening up to, listening to, and following that inclination to something more that tugs within us, that lures us forward, may be the most necessary thing that we can do. Do you have something more in you? You don't have to tell us what it is that wants to happen. Do you have something more in your life that wants to happen? Maybe it doesn't matter if you don't answer it in the moment, but that's the question I want us to allow space for as we begin this new year together. After back surgery to correct scoliosis in 1980, after which he spent 6 months playing cello in a specially designed cast, he expressed that his musical career thereafter felt like a gift. And indeed, it was a gift. Yo-Yo Ma has gone beyond some of the limitations that other musicians in the field of music have placed on music and musicians. He has explored and discovered and innovated in ways that make him not just an extraordinary musician, but also a teacher about the power of collaboration and about music's power to create change and to establish bonds between people across experiences, across cultures, across abilities. Yo-Yo lived out a strong conviction that the essence of doing music at all is that you just go where the need is. It's a form of fuel, of food. And indeed, he has gone where no musician has gone before. He has played in concert halls and opera houses, theaters, in Beirut techno clubs, the U.S.-Mexico border, at the site of 9/11 terrorist attacks at the World Trade Center, the Kalahari Desert, Mumbai, and at a clinic where he had just received his first COVID shot during the pandemic. It was his songs of comfort that he began posting online during COVID for millions to appreciate that reintroduced me to not just to his music, but to his generous and imaginative spirit. This music project, in collaboration with the pianist Catherine Stott, aimed to offer consolation and connection in the fear and isolation of that time. So over this winter intensive here at First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, invite us to pay studied attention to different lives of people. We just happen to have an assortment that we've put together as a way to see how it might prompt or inspire us in our composing of our own life. We are going to look for life lessons and usable wisdom for each of us, from Yo-Yo Ma, William James, Martin Luther King Jr., Helen Keller, Parker Palmer, Octavia Butler. And along the way, may we intentionally compose our life through these reflections and other workshops that we're offering. And so today, I've began to give a studied attention to Yo-Yo Ma's approach to life and to his music. And in addition to his capacity to listen to something more in himself and in the world around him, one other usable quality that he embodied is curiosity. Yo-Yo Ma said that one of the reasons he is a musician is that he feels he can always keep learning. Curiosity is what invites us into beginner's mind, to that place where we can let go of our preconceptions and have an attitude of openness. Curiosity is available to all of us, yet it may occasionally need a prompt to release us from our surety. And that's what I want to provide. So one prompt I would offer that might allow us to release our imagination and our curiosity and lure us into beginner's mind is a simple prompt. What if? Say that after me. What if? It seems to me that Yo-Yo Ma embodies this prompt in all of his explorations and collaborations in music and with cultures, whether explicitly or implicitly. He seems to be a what-if soul. Perhaps you've noticed, so pervasive in the times in which we live, that the practice of simply having an opinion and taking one's opinion as truth by posting it on social media, your opinion may masquerade as truth. State it with conviction in a group or in a casual conversation, and it can be perceived as true and not mere opinion. But what if we could take that same energy that underlies opinionating and criticizing and transmute this into questions that begin with, what if? That's the kind of creative interactions that I like to see released among us. This is the kind of energy that I see demonstrated in Yo-Yo Ma's life and work. He asked, what if I could collaborate with jazz singers, rock guitarists, bossa nova chanteuses? What if I considered my cello as one part of a conversation with a pianist or a drummer? What if I took music to unexpected places? What if I used music as a force to connect cultures and regions and generations? So there's wisdom here for each of us if we open the portal to our own curiosity and our own capacity to approach life without preconceptions and ask ourselves, what if? And then walk through that portal together. I thought about it for myself. Maybe you think about it. I thought, what if I spent the first hour of my day in meditation, reflective reading, or journal writing, rather than immediately going to doom scrolling the news? I wonder what that would create in me as I compose my life going forward. Or another, I asked recently, what if we organize some of our various and many offerings at First Unitarian for a season during the winter to create a coherent, reflective learning experience based on one focus, composing a life? We might then have a winter immersion at First Unitarian. Another piece of wisdom I draw from studied attention of Yo-Yo Ma is his steadfast commitment to collaboration across musical instruments, across disciplines, across cultures, beyond the imagined boundaries that we sometimes create. Yo-Yo Ma said that ultimately what I love about a beginner's mind is you get to be receptive to what's around you. It allows you to be present without judgment. So that image comes back to me about the ringing of the temple bell. Rather than experiencing that space in between one ringing of the bell and the next, don't we often fill it in? We rush ahead or we intercept it. We allow our preconceptions, particularly when we hold them as facts and not just opinions, we allow those to preclude us from entering the generative space of the beginner's mind. What if we let go of the conversations that have become like tropes for us and we begin to see that they are like a continuous loop that we can pause and see what else wants to be said and lived through us? Yo-Yo Ma invites us into some practical wisdom to help us to compose or recompose our life. Listen to the something more within you and around you and follow where it might lead you. Free yourself of preconceptions and enter the space of beginner's mind. Don't be constrained by the boundaries that limit your art or the art of your living, and go to unexpected places. So in closing, I want to share these verses by the singer-songwriter Carrie Newcomer, entitled, Because There's Not Enough Time. She writes, I used to think that because life is short, I should do more, be more, squeeze more into each and every day. I'd walk around with a stick ruler with increasing numbers as the measure of fullness. But lately, I've sensed a different response to a lack of time, felt in my bones the singular worth of each particular moment. Perhaps the goal is not to spend this day power skiing atop an ocean of multitasking. Maybe the idea is to swim slower, surer, dive deeper, and really look around. There's a difference between a life of depth and a life of width. I'm ready to join you in this life of depth. I'm ready for us as a congregation to continually and intentionally provide a community where the life of depth is offered, not just for ourselves, but to this aspiring, hurting, wandering, suffering, and joyous and sorrowful world that we share with so many others. Are you ready to, with a beginner's mind, to be part of that venture, to see where it leads us? I am too. Amen.
Good morning. As I have a video slideshow. There it goes. As part of the Ministry of Caring, Emmanuel Dining Room was founded by Brother Ronald, a Capuchin Franciscan friar, back in the 1970s. His mission was, and continues to this day, to serve the needs of the poor with dignity, respect, and love. For almost 50 years now, EDR, as we affectionately call it, has been providing a free breakfast and lunch to anyone in need in Wilmington and Newcastle. To date, they have served over 7 million meals in our community. Our involvement here at First U began shortly after its inception in the 1970s and continues today. On the 20th of every month, we provide and serve a hot lunch at the main EDR West location at 2nd and Jackson Streets in Wilmington. Many members of First U have helped out in these efforts over these many years at all 3 EDR locations. If you have been involved in our efforts, either by helping prepare or serve meals or donating food over these many, many years, would you stand or raise your hand as you're able? And look around. I mean, so many folks have been involved in this, and I thank you so much. Thanks to your past donations from First U, we have a healthy budget for our monthly food efforts here. And when was the last time you heard that? In fact, we have not asked for a special collection for our work in the last 2 years because our budget is so healthy, and we felt others in the community had greater needs for these special offerings. Today, we come to you with a special ask for financial contributions to go directly to Emmanuel Dining Room this year. While our budget is healthy, Brother Ronald's budget for feeding the hungry has been reduced, and the need for providing food to those in need is greater than ever, as you can imagine. If you can, we're asking you to consider a donation to First U this year that will be given directly to Emmanuel Dining Room for their efforts. The ways to give will be on the screen during the offertory, and you can always drop cash or checks into the collection baskets coming around or send into the church office. We are grateful to have enough food to eat every day, but not everyone is in that same position. We thank Brother Ronald and the staff at Emmanuel Dining Room for their continued efforts on behalf of those in need every day. And thank you for consideration in this special ask. If you'll join me in reciting our offering dedication. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings.
For those at home with a chalice, please extinguish it as I read these words. A new day, a new year are like a blank page. We can imagine, create, or feel what we like within the confines of the page and the 3 dimensions of the ink. Just as we can within the circumstances and relationships of our lives, the boundaries of the page can seem small, but new worlds are created on a page. So too can we do this within our lives, day by day, year by year, page by page. Oh, sorry. We're going to please rise in body or spirit to join in singing hymn 1017, Building a New Way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
So thank you, Cindy, thank you, Jacqueline and Leah and Kate for the beautiful music, and also Tracy for the music you've offered in our service. You may be seated. This short benediction. Following this benediction, we'll have a short postlude. It's a video of Yo-Yo Ma, 2 minutes or so, if you care to watch it, playing one of his pieces. Oh, by the way, if you want a poinsettia, please take it with you today. I've only tripped over and knocked over one so far, so get them out of here. So these words by T.S. Eliot: we shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. So we'll see the short video